I'm trying to get to you. Oh, show me how your body moves. Oh, you know I need you. I'm trying to get to you. You know I like the way you move. Come a little closer. I'm trying to get to you. Oh, show me how your body moves. Show me how your body
All right, guys, what is going on? Welcome to Market Maker Monday. Hope you guys have questions. Hope you guys had fun this weekend. I hope you read something this weekend. Hope you did some reflection this weekend. And if you didn't, then you're cooked. And that's it. If you did not, then you are cooked, and that is that. So, almost 30 people. Excuse me. Almost 30 people. Fresh on a Monday afternoon. 30, a little over 30 now. Cool, cool. Chat is still member only. Maybe I'll feel generous later this week and open it back up again. Maybe. What's good, Naruto, who's been a member for 30 months. Very nice. It's crazy we've been here that long. Time flies. What's good, Jorks, 2020, Felix, Roger, Sean, D. I'll just put it that way. What's good, Ebernith, Adam, Devin, Elijah. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Interesting day so far. And yes, Roger. What's good, Lee Bright? Lee Bright. What is good, man? Shit. Your community's getting bigger than the SMS community, man. Love to see that. Love to see that, man. They lost count of how many funded accounts they've got over there. It's insane what Lee Bright is doing for his community. Big round of applause for Lee Bright. Was good, Monkey. Was good, Capitalist. What is good? What is good? So yeah, Roger. I am sticking to exactly what I said in Discord until proven wrong. So I did mention 25,003. I said 392, and then the very next message I said 394 with an asterisk. So it was just a mistype on the keyboard, but you should know what that is already. You really shouldn't have to be told what that is. These highs over here. So we talked about those last week, and the way we move today has me thinking that we are going to do that today. Sunday's gap. This is an interesting observation. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Sunday's gap occurred in the discount end of this daily imbalance. Let's back up for a second. Let's go to the daily real quick, okay? Very good, Libra. I know you learned a lot off the charts, of course. You have to. FAFO Friday, if you guys remember that. October 10th. That massive candle, okay? Corvette candle. Okay? That imbalance that we created based off of the high of Monday, right? Because Monday closes and then Tuesdays we open, right? Monday's high. That creates that imbalance here, which we stabbed into on Tuesday. Was good, Oscar. We stabbed into it again on Wednesday, stabbed into the high end on Thursday. And then Friday, we went back into that Sunday's gap and closed higher. So I think I've explained this before. I do not like when a concept is revisited. You know, that second or third time. Because, like, to me, if we're in a bearish condition, right, we would trade into this and then immediately lower. We would leave the upper half open, right? That would be a strong indication that the market is bearish. We don't get that, right? So we trade to the high end here, okay. The upper half, I mean, then we trade to the higher end on Thursday, and it's like, okay, we've traded into this multiple times already. At what point are we going to trade through it? You know what I mean? So Friday, we basically close inside of that. So that to me is like, okay, I may not be bullish going into Monday, but at least it's like, all right, these levels here, right? 695 to 25, 160, that may not be bearish for much longer. And what I'm trying to point out here is you see Friday's close at 25,033 and a half. And then our open on Sunday / like Monday's candle. And you see that gap here? That gap is at, and it's at 50% and in the discount end of this daily imbalance. You guys picking up what I'm putting down here? Drop some ones in the chat if you're like, yeah, John, I get it. I get it. Like, move on, bro. Come on. I need the sauce, John. Sunday's gap. It's at halfway and a little bit lower. So it's in the discount end of that. So when we go down to, let's say, an hourly or even a 15-minute, right? Look at that. There's the gap. Let's zoom in on this, actually. There's our gap, right? We traded lower heading into, or like Asia, right? Asia session, if you will. And also, I would make note of that too. Right there. See that? 24,965. What is that? Remember, this up here is that daily imbalance. And so look what it's doing here. It's taking out Friday's, well, technically this would be like a regular trading hours low, but because this isn't regular trading hours, but nonetheless, it's taken the low prior to that move higher, and it's going to the low end of that daily imbalance. So it's already acting like an inversion, right? Price need not trade through. Need not trade through to then become an inversion, okay? You can trade it before that concept is disrespected, right? We've said that a lot. Anyways, we get back into Sunday's gap. We kind of dilly-dally here. No worries. We get through it, and then here's London. London takes us lower, and then right back into Sunday's gap, right into the discount end of that old imbalance. Equities open gave us almost zero movement below the open. See that? There's our equities open. Right there. 25,119. Like one. Okay. Like four or 5 points below it, and then immediately higher. 835 to me is our first presentation, which we do hang around. We do hang around a lot, right? We sort of get through it, then we reclaim it here, retracement, and then it's just been mooning since then. Just not exactly parabolic because we have consolidated for the last 2 hours, but nonetheless, like, this is not a market to short. To me, this is not a market to short. I think if you short this, I think you're going to get pimp slapped with a rusty spoon. So that's what I think. 25,400 I think is likely today for the PM session. Now, I would tell you, on days like this, it's harder to get positioned in if you're not already in from the morning. Like, if you're not in from right at the open or that first presentation down in here, the only way that I would trust taking a position is if we trade lower for the lows, if we sweep that and then run. Like, I could see that happening, but if we just leave these lows here and we just gun for that, I don't know what to tell you. Then that's just what we do. Even harder to get a position when AWS is down. Well, I mean, yeah, if you can't take a trade or exit a trade, then yeah, you can't really do anything about that either. So, look, I know if your broker is down or your funded account is down or whatever, and you can't trade, like, yeah, you might miss out on moves, but try not to be super frustrated. I mean, I get it, but it would say be no different if I don't know, your neighborhood had trouble with the Wi-Fi and you couldn't connect. You know, it's like there are just certain things that we don't control, you know, and sometimes we just won't be able to trade. It'd be no different if you had a doctor's appointment or, God forbid, a dentist appointment. Oof. Right? So you got a teeth cleaning, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So you just chalk it up to one of those days you just don't trade. It's that simple. So the alert for NQ is at 25,394. So we'll see what takes place there. And I did mention gold as well. So good old gold. Let's talk about gold for a minute. I think what justifies being bullish at all-time highs is, number one, is because I would rather not pick a top in this market. Same with the indices. I'm not trying to pick a top for NQ. I think if I tried to do it, I think I would fail. Probably. I would say there's a 90% chance I wouldn't be able to do it. At least as of today. There's no way. I would get cooked. Gold to me is the same way. It's almost like I'm bullish because I can't be bearish. Now that by itself is kind of like, all right, John, I don't know if I can justify putting on risk because we can't be bearish. But hear me out here. Even though we're at all-time, like getting very close to all-time highs, you got to realize too, is that the way we left the highs is not typically how the markets make a high. The markets typically do not make a high like this. Now they can, but usually no. So for those that have been trying to short gold, okay, think about this. I don't think I covered this on Friday last week, but remember I tell you all the time, if Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are in the same direction, especially if Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are in the same direction, Friday's usually reversal day. It's not 100%, it's not guaranteed, but it's typically the case. So what happened? Monday higher, Tuesday higher, Wednesday higher, Thursday higher. Okay, Friday, we do make all-time highs, but it is a reversal day. It's a reversal day. It makes a low at the imbalance created off of Thursday's low, right? So Wednesday's candle, Thursday's low to Tuesday's high. See that? So we do trade to the lower end of it. No problem. We leave some portion of that open. And then so what is today? It opens Sunday, Monday, trades down, doesn't go back into that imbalance, and we start seeking higher pricing. Okay, so with that in mind, this is what that looks like on a 1 hour. And although it's not super clean, meaning I wouldn't put it in a book, I wouldn't print this off, I wouldn't screenshot it, you know, to show you personally, but consolidation, left it, back into it, left it again. On this 15-minute, 1 hour, same thing. We get a retracement that sells off. See that? 15-minute. It's no different, just different candlesticks, right? Different data. You have a imbalance in here. Okay. That we trade up and into, and then immediately lower. Like, that's a drastic move in comparison, right? Small consolidation. Corvette candles lower. So this, right? What does that become? It's a level of distribution. We trade higher, imbalance here, can't get past it, and then lower. Right, so why am I pointing this out to you? Well, think about it. We have some lows back here that got taken, and we have an original consolidation and at least one level of distribution. Arguably, this is a level of distribution as well, right? Redistribution. What does distribution become on the right side of the curve of a buy model? What would that become? Distribution would become what? Technically, Naruto, it would be reaccumulation. But it's still accumulation. It's just reaccumulation. Because you cannot have the second stage without first stage. So it would be accumulation and then reaccumulation. So this would be distribution turned reaccumulation. Would you look at that? Right into it. Right into it. And that's not based on a 15 by itself. That's actually based on this 1 hour candle here. Right? Boom. Look at that. See that? We traded higher. Bull flag here. Okay. Bull flags after bull runs are nonsense. So that breaks down. Retracement lower. And again, this should be reaccumulation. So then what do we see? Okay. What do we see? That move lower. That took out some lows. So those up candles can become what? Oh, John, well, that's cool and all, but, how would we ever know? How would we ever know? Take a look at this, okay? Take a look at this. I gave you the 1 hour chart, right? You wearing a diaper? You got some TP near you? What time was that? What time was that? $9:17. What time was that in the Discord? That's the time in the screenshot. What was the time in the Discord? I believe it is 9:17. At the latest, it would be 9:18. So that was given to you, right? Now watch this. Now watch this. Not that. Here we go. 9:17. Right there. Right there. Mitigation. And even comes back one more time at 9:35. Another 20 minutes later. Oh, 18 minutes later or whatever quick math, okay? Quick math for you. Immediately higher. Immediately higher. So you see how this stuff works, chat? Like, find the liquidity, trade in that direction. We don't want to trade on the way up, okay? We want to trade on the way lower in a bullish market, on the way lower in a bullish market. Yeah. So What's interesting is, because I know you're going to have this question, and if you don't, I'm going to give it to you anyway. What's the question? Does this whole AWS stuff affect how markets deliver? I mean, that's a pretty good question. For someone who's interested in, price action and smart money concepts and, the way that we do things here, that would be my first question. If I was learning from somebody, and all this stuff was happening, and I'd say, wait, well, with whatever's going on, because I don't understand AWS all that much, okay? But that would be my very first question. I'd be like, okay, well, if stuff's going down, how does that affect price? How does it affect price? Well, number one, I don't know what time it went down or whatever, or how that works, but to me, it appears like the markets still deliver how they should deliver. I mean, that's what it appears. I mean, look at our first presentation. We traded inside of it. Yes, we traded outside of it. And then we got a reclaimed first presentation here. Look at ES, okay? Now, arguably, I really don't know which one, like that could be a suspension here, actually. So, that could be probably something different. But the first, like, pronounced imbalance to me is that. That gets respected. So, how does AWS being down affect price? It's a good question. But we've still delivered higher. So, it looks like markets still deliver how they should. So, what does that tell you? I don't know. But I do find that interesting. So, Daniel, thoughts on Euro? I don't really have thoughts on the Euro, to be fair. If anything, I wanted lower pricing. If anything, I would want lower pricing. It is hard to say with the dollar. Okay? And to me, Friday, okay, same thing, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday being lower for the dollar. Friday starting off lower. And we trade into this suspension here, which we created out on the way lower. So this would have been bearish. It wasn't. So it becomes an inversion. So we close higher. And then today, it looks like, based on a daily time frame, that we would open, trade lower to go higher. And then there's this imbalance sitting, right above where we are. And the euro is very close to the inverse of that. Meaning last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was all higher. Friday started off that way, but does not end that way. We actually traded up. And I didn't look at any of that on Friday. This is all done over the weekend, by the way. But Friday had traded higher into this old gap from the 3rd and the 6th. We close lower. So it looks like, again, open high and then wreck lower, but at least to like 1640, which is only 8 pips away anyway. So to me, there's not a lot I can do with that. There's just not a lot that I can do with that. Sunday's gap here. This is what that is. Okay. There's Friday's close to Sunday's open, which I usually do with the lines and stuff to help you guys. But when I'm on my own, I just use the box and I make it a little bit darker. So like I know what it is. But if you need to label it, like you can do that. But you can see what we've done. We had traded outside of it, the low end being relatively bullish. I mean, I wouldn't call this bullish, but it sees like responsiveness to a degree. we trade lower on a 5-minute time frame. We start closing below Sunday's gap. So we get back into the premium end, it sends it lower. We get back to the premium end, and this I find to be interesting too, where the bodies are staying inside of that. Bodies here are staying inside of that, and we're lower. So this looks like it wants to slam below 1640 for the euro. Second, honestly, I don't think I've ever heard of second presentation before. I don't know if that's a thing, but the first presentation, okay, in the way that most people view it online, is this. It would technically, let's go back to Nasdaq. It's not necessarily the first presentation, okay? It's the first presentation of that particular concept. So when I say first presentation, I'm just being lazy. And if I'm marking out an imbalance, that's what it's the first presented imbalance, not the first presented mitigation, not the first presented suspension, not the first presented, whatever. But most people online, they look at the first presented imbalance, or a lot of people say fair value gap. Whatever, I don't care what you call it, as long as you understand what it is. It's the first one after either 830 or 831 shouldn't be part of it. But after that, the first one is something that you want to pay attention to. So does that answer your question, Roger? It is the first presentation. Now, I haven't tested this, but what would be an interesting study is if you marked up the first presentation of like other concepts. Like, I'll give you an example. When we were here a few minutes ago on the 5-minute time frame, whoops. When we were here on the 1-minute time frame, the first, see, and again, I don't know if this is a thing, and I'm clarifying that so you don't think like I'm teaching you some wrong stuff, because again, I don't know if it's a thing. But again, what I would study is the first shift in the state of delivery and the first like propulsion. I think that would be an interesting study too. So it'd be the first presentation imbalance, first presentation shift in the state of delivery, and the first presentation propulsion. So that's what you're looking at here. Okay, so that 830 just blast off. Okay, boom, big shift in the state of delivery. This down candle here, right? Again, another shift in the state of delivery. This was prior to the open. This is the propulsion. And that propulsion is right at first presentation of the imbalance. Like first presented imbalance overlaps with that propulsion. So that I think would be a worthy study. Does that make sense? I know it sounds a little weird. There's a lot of things that I teach you that, frankly, a lot of people don't. So you can think whatever you like. If you think it's stupid, don't look at it. If you don't want to study it, don't study it. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But knowing what we did early on in the day, I think is important. Knowing what's on the higher time frame is important. I also think it's important to know what the dollar index is doing when it comes to intermarket analysis of the dollar index and indices, or let's say dollar index and gold. Now, do they always align perfectly? No. every up day in the dollar isn't a down day on gold, or every up day in the dollar is not a down day in indices. They can move together, right? But when they align, and you've got, let's say, a potentially bullish equities and a bearish dollar, and then you've got like liquidity, you know, as a target, like, bro, you have a very, very high probability bias. And then after that, it's just a matter of getting in sync with price, delivery. You get me? So that's why I said earlier when you asked me, Daniel, or no, it wasn't you, it was somebody else. It was Roger. Roger, when you asked me, do I see NQ pushing up to those highs? I said, yeah, I'm going to stick to my idea until I'm proven wrong. Because of literally the reasons that I just gave you. We barely traded below our open and blasted off. That's a signature of a bullish market, obviously. Right? And then, like I already said, early shift in the state of delivery, first propulsion on a 5-minute, first presentation on a 1-minute imbalance, right? And that buy side liquidity is, I think, is just Thursday's high. That shows no reversal. That shows no bearishness. That shows no sort of setup to go lower. There is nothing bearish about that, right? So again, we have a one-sided market. That's where high probability trading comes from. Not just time price context, of course, but it's a overwhelming amount of evidence that aligns with the same thing. You understand? So when you get that, you have high probability trades. And that's why I said what I said earlier. That's why I pointed out the highs on NQ. That's why I pointed out the highs on gold. We're not there. We're not there on either one. But this was like a few hours ago. You know, stuff takes time to pan out. I told you we're probably not going to move in a straight line. Like, markets hardly move in a straight line to go higher. They can. And if you're ever in a trade like that, you best TP at that liquidity. But otherwise, those retracements are opportunities. Since we're in a deep premium here, these retracements are typically going to be sweeps. Like these lows in here, that looks like a sweep to just blast. That's what that looks like to me. And that was one of the scenarios I gave you earlier when we were like back in here, like 20 minutes ago. I was saying we have lows down here. They could leave those open and just blast it. The only way that I would really trust like going long at this point, I wouldn't long here. But if we had traded lower to sweep these and then, you know, want to seek that, I would get in sync with that. But to buy it here, buying at the high of day after a 250 something point run, you know, like that to me is, that could work, but the risk is not worth the reward, or the reward would not be worth putting on the risk for something like that. Does that make sense? Drop some twos if that makes sense. Or do you just think I'm just talking out of my ass? It's okay. We still got like 32 more points before we see buy side up here for ES. Same thing. Hardly any movement below our open today. Equities open, I mean. And we're just blasting. We're just blasting. Sonic, Oreo, blast, you know? But yeah, so that's why I said for Euros, kind of, it's the, like, not indices, excuse me, currencies today and dollar index, there's just so, look at our range today. This is cheeks. This is cheeks to me. Like, we've already done a lot in terms of like compared to other days, but we basically just haven't done a lot. We're just chilling. Price is literally just chilling. Oh, look at that little spike down. But we've just been chilling inside Sunday's gap until like a few minutes ago, like right at the beginning of the stream, actually. But do you see how like getting a bias works? Looking at the higher time frame, a daily time frame, and then dropping down, seeing, you know, where our Sunday gaps are, you know, if they're going to be important or not, you know, seeing how we trade around them, seeing how we trade at the open, and potentially aligning different things. It would be better to me if we could have framed a high probability bearish dollar that would be in alignment to send indices higher. And that would be very powerful. And to me, I can't see that. Look at it. I can't see that. It doesn't mean indices can't go higher. It just means this makes me not want to trade currency based on where we are. You know, we're like, what did I say earlier? We're like 8 pips away from the lows. Like, bro, 8 pips? Come on. Yeah, I can't do anything with that. But at least understanding, you know, what's taking place on a higher time frame, what's likely to happen either today or like tomorrow, as an example. You know, next day type vibe, if you will. So, yeah, that is the extent of what I have for you today. You know what I mean? And that's it. This stuff is important. You know what I mean? Algorithmic price delivery. We're taking out lows and revisiting Sunday's gap in London to go higher. You know? Shift into state delivery, propulsion, first presentation, and then very shallow retracements higher. Shallow retracement higher. Consolidation, but still higher. And just get in sync with whatever price is likely to do. So, yeah, unless you have any questions, that's pretty much going to be it. So we talked about gold. Talked about NQ, ES to an extent as well. We talked a little bit on euro and the dollar. And I don't know, I feel like it's been a pretty good stream so far. I mean, have you guys... I don't know where the likes at. I can't see that on this end. We got 19 likes. Drop some likes if you guys got some value today so far. I think I've only cussed like twice. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Y'all didn't even notice that. Nobody even gave me props for that either. You're all fired. Fired. You're all fired. Especially Felix. Especially Felix. Yeah. See, I'd be a horrible manager, wouldn't I? This is why I can't go back to the workforce, bro. As soon as I get promoted to manager, I'm firing every fucking body. Martha, isn't that like your 17th smoke break today? Fired. Hey, bro, we got a 30-minute lunch break. You've been taking 40... Fired. Hey, bro, you microwave fish in the break... Fired. Not doing it. You're done. So, that'd be horrible. That would be absolutely horrible. He said, I can show my kids the stream now. Yeah, I'm gonna... Look, I'm trying, okay? I'm trying to get back to the family friendly conversations. Like, y'all have to, I don't think you guys even realize, okay? The first time that I started cursing was elementary school. Seriously, it was elementary school. It was the first time I got to be away, you know, from my parents, right? And it's like, okay, well, when the teacher's not around, I'm gonna just say what I want, dog. Who's gonna stop me? And that's where that disaster began. You know, just 7, 8 year old just cussing. You know what I mean? And then middle school, high school, jobs, Navy, like I've been cursing so long. I've been cussing so long. I have to purposely find different words. That's why, if you haven't noticed, I've been talking slower. I have to talk slower because if I talk too fast, I'm gonna slip up. So it's hard to do that because I'm so accustomed to doing so, especially when I want to emphasize something. But I don't know. At 32 years old, I guess. At what age are you going to put the excuses away? You know what I mean? If you were my manager, many people, yourself included, would learn many lessons. You're pretty good at not cussing around your friends' children, right? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In certain situations, yeah, maybe. You know, if it's Christmas morning or something and you know they're opening presents, I might just not talk. You know what I mean? Just someone might be recording video or something. You know, I can't be dropping F-bombs in family videos. Like, that's just not, we can't be doing that. You know, or a birthday celebration. Happy birthday. You know, and you got this bald guy in the background cussing. Like, what is that? Can't do that. Can't do that. But I don't know, man. The, kids today, really, honestly, they have no protection. They have no protection. Kids are connected to the internet, you know, which the internet's a very wild place. You know, they're putting all this gay stuff in children's cartoons now. Like, there's just no shielding children from anything anymore. Well, you can definitely block most stuff, but you can't block everything. So they're eventually gonna start seeing stuff they shouldn't be seeing. They're gonna start hearing stuff they shouldn't be hearing. It's just a matter of time, you know. And it's a very sad thing. But when you're in the moment, right, and there's F-bombs on the TV, you know, the parents started dropping F-bombs. Okay, well, cat's already out of the bag now. You know what I mean? He's already heard the F word like 17 times in the last 30 minutes. I guess one or two more ain't gonna hurt. You know what I mean? So it's probably not the best way to go about it, but it's just like, yeah, I feel bad for kids and parents today because the world is not what it was 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah, Marquise, welcome to the SMS membership. I almost skipped past that. I was in my nonsense. Sorry. I was in the middle of ranting my nonsense. But yeah, welcome our newest member, Marquise G. Go into the Discord, go into your Discord, go to your user settings, and then go to connections, and then sign into your YouTube account that you just signed up to this channel with, and then you'll be able to, that's how you connect that, and then you'll see the Discord to join us. Anyway, convicted, you're fired as well. You and Felix are done. You and everybody else are done. So one of you who has if you want a side quest, okay, you have my permission to do this. You have my permission. If you want a side quest this week, you have my permission to count how many times I curse on stream. Okay? Is that last week's high? That one? Yep. That's not bad. But Dow is just so trash. There was an inverted, or no, sorry, not an inverted. There was a reclaimed. I'm tired. I can't think straight. This was a mitigation that became inverted. There we go. Sorry, not a reclaimed. Thank you, Libre. I appreciate that. Here, I thought we had a good thing, Libre. Here I was propping you up earlier, talking about all these millions you guys got in funding, and here you go, stabbing me in my back. I need a napkin. I gotta. Ooh. That knife, I gotta get that taken out. This was a mitigation that became an inversion. I was watching that today, and I didn't take it, but that would have been very, very beautiful. You know what I mean? Got a bloody back today, chat. It's crazy. It'd be your own people. It'd be your own people. It'd be your own students. They really do. Right, Lee? Right? That's an inside joke between him and I, but it'd be your own fucking... See? It'd be your own people, don't it? It'd be your own people. Right? Every student doesn't stay a student. I'll put it to you that way. You know what I'm saying? All right, y'all be good. Be blessed, man. We'll be here same time, same place tomorrow on Tuesday, the 21st. Okay? Don't do anything dumb. I'll see you tomorrow.